Here we go. It's Ranger Russ back at the Meigs Point Nature Center. Want to give a big shout out to everybody that's been watching. Again, getting lots of great comments. First thing I want to talk about, last week we had a question when we did a program on our monk parakeets, and someone asked what color the monk parakeets' eggs were. The answer is white. Kind of boring, but their eggs are much smaller than chicken eggs, but they have white eggs. So, another thing, we did a special program yesterday. I know it's not in our schedule, but it was a teachable moment that I took advantage of. You can go to the archive, go to meigspointnaturecenter.org and look that up and see the program that we did yesterday. Also, you can go to our YouTube channel. All the videos are being put up on YouTube. And we have been adding, thanks to our volunteers here at the Nature Center, lots of additional content to each video. So great news there. We're seeing lots of very interesting things, activities that you can do that we're going to put up on our website, the Virtual Learning Center at meigspointnaturecenter.org. So, the DEP, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, we're the ones that run the park, that run this nature center. We need your help. We need people to maintain social distance within parks. If you see a park is full, please find another park. Parks are 15 minutes away from each other, so you can easily find another place that's not crowded. We will be closing parks if they reach a certain capacity where we feel that social distancing becomes difficult. The parks will be closed. So in order to reduce the chance of your park being closed, find a place that nobody's going to. State forests have lots and lots of trails. It's a lot more open. You can get away from other people. Social distance, I looked it up, it's 20 mice. Okay? So if you can keep 20 mice between you and someone that's not living in your house with you, then you're able to maintain social distance. And you should be wearing a mask. I don't have mine on, it's in my pocket, but you should also be wearing a mask when you're visiting the parks. We're also asking people not to picnic in the parks. Come walk, get some exercise, get some fresh air, but we're trying to reduce the numbers and increase the number of people that can visit. So if you just visit, do your walk and go, somebody else can come and visit. So all of these things will help us keep the parks open, keep the parks functional. Please look. You can go to the DEP Twitter account and see if the parks are open. I think it's CT Parks on Twitter. Make sure that the park you want to go to is open. They're going to post it there first. It'll be all over social media and on the websites, eventually, but I think Twitter is the best way to get the information about the park that you would like to visit. All right. We ready to talk animals? Because today is another one of my favorite animals. And I have, right down here, I have to reduce my energy because I get so excited and I don't want to scare these animals too much. But what we're doing today is another amphibian. So let's talk, what is an amphibian? The first thing, amphibians have smooth skin. There are exceptions to the rule though, remember that. Because the amphibian we're looking at today, most people don't consider it smooth skin, although it's smooth skin. They are partially aquatic. So for part of their life, they are underwater. They're breathing the water, they live underwater, they eat underwater, they don't leave the water. And that is, for amphibians, when they're tadpoles. Okay? So baby frogs, salamanders, those are tadpoles. They're completely aquatic. They can change their body completely and emerge out of the water and then live on land and breathe air. So they go from breathing water to breathing air. Absolutely amazing. I bet some of you wish that you could breathe underwater. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. That should be a list. We're going to make a list of your animal power. If you had an animal power, what would it be? I think breathing underwater would be near the top for me. All right, you ready to see the amphibian? This is an American toad. How cool is that? Okay. Oh, he waved at you. She waved at you. This is a girl. Now, the American toad, we just peed all over the place. That's what they do. Did it again. Got a lot of water inside this little one. Now, people, let's talk about that. People get, oh, yuck, you got peed on. It's basically just a little water, maybe some minerals in there, but it does not cause warts. Everybody thinks, oh, you get peed on and you get warts. No warts from a toad. You're not going to get warts. Now, if you look, this is why people say, oh, they're not smooth skin. It has warts on its back. Let's get it to focus there. So those are the warts on the back of a frog. This is a toad, and toads are frogs, all right? Toads are a subgroup within frogs. So frogs are a large group, and then within that, there's a smaller group of toads. Usually in this area, dry, warty skin, where frogs have moist, smoother skin, all right? Now, another big difference between frogs and toads, worldwide, anywhere you go, this is going to be your way that you can tell a frog from a toad. Toads are toothless. No toads, no teeth in a toad. Really cool. I bet most of you didn't know that frogs had teeth. If you go back and look at one of our frogs videos, we talk about it. But frogs have teeth, so really cool. Frogs have teeth, toads, no teeth. So, I want to show you, you see these two large warts on the back? Those are actually glands, and they produce a toxin. Now, it's not going to affect people, but if another animal comes to eat it, it tastes really bad. Sometimes if your frog picks a toad up in its mouth, it may, shake its head and gets a little frothy in the mouth, and it really doesn't like it. That's because it's secreting this toxin that tastes really bad, and it discourages animals from trying to eat toads. So that's a great defense for this cool little animal. Now, I said that this was a girl, and I can tell because of two things. One, I caught it together with a boy, and the boys tend to be a bit smaller than the girls. So this one's the larger of the two. But a great thing, when you hold a toad, this is the boy. Can you hear that? The boys chirp when you pick them up. How cool is that? The girls are quiet. They're not going to make much noise. But the boys, as soon as you pick them up, they just start, he's not doing it. Now he's doing it. He's going to do it when he's away from the microphone. All right, we'll leave him there for a second. They're going to start chirping. They produce this, they're buzzing a little bit. There's a vibration coming from him. Can you hear it? All right. So this is our little boy, and we'll hold it up next to the girl so you can see the size difference. Now, neither one of these are as big as they get. The boys will get larger than this one here, and the girls will get twice as big as this. We've seen some really large toads. Toads don't live very long. So she will lay 8,000 eggs. That's the max, up to 8,000 eggs. So a really big toad is laying 8,000 eggs. Most of them are not even going to make it a year. Lots of things will eat the eggs. Lots of things will eat the babies. But if they make it through that first year, they could live up to 10 years. So they can be pretty long-lived, but that first year, year and a half, less than half of them are going to get through that first year. Now, I said they lay eggs. Frogs lay eggs in clumps, okay? They're in a big mass. It looks like jelly with little beads inside of it. Toads lay their eggs in strings. It looks like a string of black pearls surrounded by a little bit of goo as you go along, but they're little black dots in the center of each one of their eggs. And they're very long strings. They could be, over a foot long, some of them, for the bigger toads. That's how they lay their eggs. That's a good way to tell the difference between a frog's eggs and a toad's eggs, because their eggs are going to be very different. Sam is wondering, how old do they get? I just mentioned they can get up to 10 years old. The longest, I found a record that one in captivity lived 36 years. That is a really old toad, and I'm really curious how big it got. in 36 years. But again, it was in captivity, so it's got constant temperature, constant food. They're going to live a little bit longer that way. All right, let's see if I can get him again. I hope you guys can hear him chirping. It's really cool. All right, do we have any other questions? Is the toad we hear at night, is this a toad we hear at night? So his call is a long trilling call. The gray tree frog has a similar call. Unfortunately, they're on my phone, so I can't play them for you. But maybe we could put a link up on our virtual learning center of the calls of some of these frogs. That would be really helpful, I think. We'll see if we can do that. So look on our virtual learning center and see if we have, we'll put the calls up with the video of the frog or toad. And then you can listen to it and tell me if it's what you hear. This time of year, we're hearing the beginnings of the gray tree frogs. We're hearing the spring peepers. We shouldn't be hearing the wood frogs any longer. They're done laying their eggs and gone back into the woods. But this is the beginning of the toads. So the toads should be starting up right now. And other frogs, you know, anytime you should be able to hear them. We've got a little cold snap going right now, so they're not going to be as vocal when it's really cold. The temperature drops down, they become much less active, they become inactive. Another interesting thing about these toads here, they hibernate. And when they do, in cold areas, so up here in the north, they'll bury themselves deep in the ground. Down south, they don't do it as much. They do brumation, which we talked about again in another video, where they'll just go into like a little sleepy time for a while, and then when it warms up again, then they come out and they're active. Our toads will bury themselves, and they can dig pretty deep. They dig their own holes. They dig backwards, so they use their back legs to push the soil out, and they back their way down. They like soft sandy soil, so they can get really far down, and that way they try and get below that frost and that freezing up above. So that's how they spend the winter, is buried down in the dirt. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's a good note here. We have John Himmelman is a children's book author. He lives in the same town I do. Right near here at the park. He is reading some of his books onto videos, and we're going to be putting them up, as we're not sure how we're going to do it, but either just playing him on Facebook Live, maybe I'll watch along with you, because he asks some questions and it's interactive, which is really cool. But he's got one about noisy frogs, so we should see some story times by authors. We're looking for other authors as well, so if anybody out there knows a children's author, you can send us their contact, especially if they do nature books. And John Himmelman does fantastic nature books. I watched the one about box turtles the other day. It was really fun. All right. I do see toads in the garden. I did when I was a child, not using pesticides. Are they declining? Okay. So the question is about, are toads declining? People aren't seeing as many as they used to. And the answer is yes, they are in decline. We talked in another episode about amphibians being an indicator species. They can absorb things directly through their skin, which means if there's any sort of pesticide in your garden, they can absorb it right through their skin and it will affect them negatively. So we really encourage people to use as little pesticides, hopefully none if possible. That is going to increase your ability to have toads. Unfortunately, if you use pesticides, you're killing a pest, right? You're killing some sort of insects that are eating your fruits or vegetables. If you also do that, then you could be killing the toads. If you don't use the pesticides and you have more toads, they're going to eat those pests that are in your garden. So the more toads you get, the fewer pests you're going to get in your garden and the less pesticide you're going to need. The same thing goes with fertilizers. They can absorb some of the fertilizers directly through their skin. So we want to be really careful and use as little as possible. Okay, I know everybody wants their nice green lawns. Your lawn will be green without using all the fertilizers that if you read the bag, it asks you to put way too much fertilizer on there. So we really love amphibians, and anything that's harmful in their environment can affect them pretty quickly. Worldwide, the population of amphibians, all of them, is declining. So some of the amphibians in Connecticut are actually already listed as endangered or threatened. I think we have 7 right now that are listed. And we don't have, well, there are 12 salamanders and I think 8 or 10 frogs. So that's a good percentage. 30% of them are already listed. So we should be really cautious about the things that we're putting out into our environment. And we'll get a whole lot more of these little guys. Nitrogen runoff with fertilizers. Yeah, I just talked about that. Nitrogen. So I did a thing in college where we looked at a bag of fertilizer and we calculated how much fertilizer your lawn, the grass in your lawn, can take up. And the bag was telling you to put, X amount of fertilizer down each week. And we calculated that your grass could not possibly take up the amount of fertilizer they were telling you to put down on your lawn. Unfortunately, they're trying to sell fertilizer. So they tell you to put down more than you actually need. And once your grass takes up the fertilizer that they can, nitrogen, they take it up. All the extra nitrogen just runs right off. It goes down into the groundwater. It runs off into streams and brooks. Where do all the streams and brooks in Connecticut end up? They'll end up in larger brooks, ponds, and streams, and larger until they end up in Long Island Sound. So it's a really good idea to watch out for the types of fertilizer that you're putting down. We're talking a lot about fertilizer today. I was actually going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow. So tomorrow is Earth Day. We've got some special things going on for Earth Day. There'll be a link on our virtual learning center where you can go to the DEEP's Earth Day events. And one of the things we're doing is encouraging Earth Day spring cleanups in a safer way. So using less pesticides and fertilizers are one of the things we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about spilling out standing water around your homes. If you have a bucket or just a little piece of plastic that's holding some water, you want to dump that before mosquitoes start laying their eggs in there. So all of those are cool things that you can do for our Earth Day spring cleanings. And we're doing a special animal tomorrow in honor of Earth Day. Across the state, we're actually doing, or actually I think it's across the country, people are focusing this Earth Day on bears. So we're going to be talking about bears tomorrow. I am not going to have a live bear in the Nature Center. I will have something for you to look at, but I'm not going to bring a live bear in here. Although I think some of you would like to see me sitting next to a bear doing this program. It would be really cool, actually. Maybe we should try and find a live bear somewhere. All right, what else we have? Okay, I want to thank everybody. Lots of people are putting where they're from as the questions go by, and I really like to see that. I appreciate to see how far the program is reaching and all the different people. Also, if you like us and follow us on Facebook, then your friends can see these programs and maybe more of them will get to enjoy them. We do have a YouTube channel, so Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. All the videos are being put up there, and we're working on filming some additional videos that we can do some editing to. So maybe if it's an animal that we can't get an up-close look at, we'll do some filming and then put some videos into our video so that you can see those really special animals. Bears take your bird feeders down. Yes, sometimes they do. We'll talk a lot about that tomorrow. All right, what other things? So let's remind everyone, Connecticut state parks are open, but they may have to close if they get too crowded. So watch out for your social distancing. Make sure everybody has plenty of space between one another. 20 mice. It's a good distance to stay away from each other. And we will be able to keep the parks open. We're asking people not to picnic in the parks Come do your exercise, get some great fresh air, see all the wildlife, because this is springtime. Birds are migrating in. We expect to see our purple martins out here any day, which is going to be a really exciting time. The osprey are already back, so come on out and enjoy the parks, but maintain your social distance. All right, I'm seeing some bear videos. Oh, somebody has a bear video. That's great. I would love to see some live bear cams around. We have a live osprey camera. If you go to the website, meigspointnaturecenter.org, you can watch our osprey on the nest. It's very cool. We expect to see some eggs pretty soon, which will be really exciting. Maybe we'll do a contest where whoever sees the first egg wins a prize or something like that. But keep your eye out. We really want to encourage people to watch those osprey. You learn a lot about wildlife watching them in their natural environment. So looking at a toad in my hand or in one of our tanks is very different from finding a toad out in the field. But I'm going to ask you, if you find amphibians in the field, out in the woods or near a pond, wherever you find them, please leave them be. You know, their numbers are in decline. You carry things on your hands that are really harmful to them. I wash my hands really well before I do this program. I rinse and rinse and rinse, so there's no toxins on my hands. You can't really do that if you're just out hiking. So make sure that you leave the animals wild. We love to see wild animals in the wild. So let's keep the wild animals wild. I like to say that. Someone is seeing a lot of frogs. That is very cool. We should be seeing more and more of them as the weather warms up. Again, with this cold snap coming in, they'll be a little less active. They're still out there. They're just going to be less active as it gets cooler. So, did I cover everything? Oh, we have to do a thank you to the Friends of Hammonasset. So our Friends organization is doing a great job. They're paying to feed the animals. Today, I have to order fish flakes and turtle sticks and a couple of other things for the fish. We're running low on our fish and amphibian feeding supplies. So we're going to get those. We got an order of crickets in today, which are what all the frogs really like to eat, crickets. That's a good note. Toads and frogs have to eat things that are moving. So they won't eat a dead cricket or anything. If it's not moving, they do not recognize it as food. So we need to keep the food moving. Otherwise, they just look at it and say, yep, it's not food for me. It's not moving. All right. So thank you to the Friends of Hammonasset. I want to give a shout out to one of our watchers who had an issue with my moving around. And I understand that because the same thing happens to me if I'm watching a video that moves too much. And has made a donation so that we can get a stabilizer. So when I'm walking around, which I'm going to be visiting another park soon, it will keep the camera stable and you guys should get better pictures. So I want to thank you to our very kind contributor for that device. All right. Thanks again for watching this program. I'm Ranger Russ and coming to you from the Meigs Point Nature Center at Hammonasset. As soon as the Nature Center opens, I hope that you come down and see me. Yeah, I'm going to get a little stir crazy being here by myself most of the time. So fortunately, I have lots of animals to talk to. I will see you this afternoon at 2 o'clock. We have a really special program this afternoon. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want you to tune in. But we're going to be doing some craft type activity this afternoon. So should be lots of fun. I hope to see you all then. Thank you for watching.